Welcome to the Barrel Room Chronicles. I'm Carrie Moynihan, a certified bourbon steward, former bartender, and all-around whiskey aficionado. I travel the world to explore whiskey from every avenue. For the last 20 years, I've been helping others tell their stories through television, film, and other media. But now I'm taking my love for whiskey and my experience in the entertainment industry to uncover the fascinating stories of the water of life. So kick off your shoes, pour yourself a dram, and join me for this episode of Barrel Room Chronicles.
Fine wine has long been a cornerstone of wealth generation and preservation. The problem? Historically, it's been reserved for the ultra-wealthy. VinoVest is changing that. Wine has 1/3 the volatility of the stock market and has outperformed the global equities market over the past 30 years, with 10.6% annualized returns, proving that the returns can be just as robust as your favorite red. It is so easy to get started in diversifying your investment portfolio. VinoVest makes it easy to acquire new investments. Equipped with a team of world-class sommeliers who evaluate wine and determine which ones will gain value over time. You own the wines in your portfolio outright. You can buy, sell, and even drink them whenever you want. Go to http://zen.ai/Barrel Chronicles to receive 2 months of fee-free investing. Be sure to mention that Barrel Room Chronicles is helping you save on 2 months of management fees. It's time to start investing with VinoVest today.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere, and you've tuned into episode 10 of BRC. For those of you who'd like to watch this episode, it's available on our website, YouTube, and Spotify. Today in our Tales from the Still segment, I speak with the founders of Bespoken Spirits about their 3-day maturation process. That's right, I said 3 days. Then later in the show, Chef Louise Leonard dishes on a cookie recipe that might surprise you in today's world of wheezy. Welcome to another edition of Barrel Room Chronicles. On today's show, we have Stu Aaron and Martin Janousek from Bespoken Spirits, and they're going to tell us all about their whiskey journey and their spirits journey and how they went from a wee little lad all the way to creating this beautiful company. So let's start with Stu, since you were online first. Stu, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where do you live now? And what got you into the spirits world?
Great. And the short answer to what got me into the spirits world is the other guy on the call here, Martin. But we'll come back to that in a moment. I guess I think of myself as a recovering Silicon Valley engineer, born in New York City, grew up in various parts around New York and New Jersey, spent about a decade in the Washington, D.C. area before I wound up here in California, where I've been for the last 25 years. Spent most of my career in Silicon Valley, working for a bunch of Silicon Valley startups. Built a bunch of companies from the ground up to some pretty substantive businesses. And after a pretty lengthy career of doing that, Martin planted the seed of what if we could apply all the principles and the lessons we learned from building companies and developing technology to something that might be a little bit more fun and more fun to talk about.
Okay.
And that's how we got into this space. And in reality, I wasn't much of a whiskey or spirit aficionado or connoisseur before I met Martin. He's kind of pulled me in that direction. So I've got more of the everyman's palate, whereas he's got the refined palate. But that distinction and difference between us, I think, makes us a very complementary and powerful force in creating spirits that everybody can love, whether they're the tried and true aficionado and expert, or whether they're more the newer novice inquisitor looking to get into the space.
That is awesome. And how did you guys meet? And how long have you known each other?
We actually first met 15 years ago. When we were both working for another sustainability-oriented company, which was a fuel cell company here in Silicon Valley called Bloom Energy.
Martin, I would love to hear your story from childhood till now. And how did you talk Stu into doing all this with you, being a spirits man? And what is your favorite spirits? And yeah, just tell me the whole thing.
Okay, I'll try to remember all these things, but yeah, thanks for having us, Carrie. So I was actually born in the Czech Republic, in a town called Pilsen. That's where apparently the first Pils was brewed. So I also brew my own beer, of course. But I grew up actually in Germany, spent 25 years in Germany, getting a PhD in material science. Then I moved to Austria for 10 years. And came to Silicon Valley 17 years ago. As Stu said, we met about 15 years ago. I was running the technology development for that fuel cell company, and Stu was doing the BizDev development. And favorite spirits, I remember that question that you had that. Favorite spirits, of course, it's Bespoken Spirits, but there are definitely a couple of brands that I always liked. I don't know whether I should mention specific brands, but like Blanton's, for instance. Blanton's is one of my favorites. Unfortunately, getting a little bit expensive for my pocket, but. Yep. But I'm more the guy who kind of likes to try multiple things, just like, I don't know, I think you do a lot of wine podcasts. It's not like that I like to drink the same bottle of wine every night. I really, really like to try to drink actually different things. So my wine cellar, you won't find a lot of bottles that I have, like 5 or 6. I usually buy maybe 1 or 2. Right, and the same is true for spirits. Right, I just love to explore different things, and that was kind of sort of also the start of the idea of being able to customize the maturation process for spirits, and that's how I approached Stu. And yeah.
So Stu, did you say, what are you talking about, dude? Like this is a big far reach from what we're doing here in the Silicon Valley, or did you say, yeah, finally something fun to do? How did that go down?
It was definitely more the latter.
Good.
It was, this just makes perfect sense, right? If you think about the fact that the majority, you could argue, of a spirit's value gets created during the maturation process, when you're just kind of helplessly, but hopefully and passively letting nature take its course. And that Martin's proposal was, what if we could take control of that process? Use the same traditional elements of wood, toast, and char, no additives, no chemicals. But if we could reimagine that process from the ground up to give control, to allow us to design the spirit for a precise aroma, color, and taste profile, to do it quickly so that we could learn from a lot of mistakes to hone in on what's really good, and then last but certainly not least, do it in a sustainable fashion, where we can use less wood, less water, and less energy, and have zero angel share, which is, the biggest travesty in the industry, is how much of the product just goes out the window before anybody gets to taste it. And so, that combination of values really just struck a chord with me. And having seen that kind of disruption succeed in other industries, I thought, why not? And again, this is one that, that would be a lot more fun than, building the next app or designing the next chip.
True. So what was your first step when you guys decided to do this? What was your first step? Looking into a space or designing things? What did you do first?
Well, maybe I can answer that, because just like any good Silicon Valley startup, we actually started in my garage, and more out of necessity than anything else. Right. So I kind of cleaned up half of my garage. The other half belongs to my wife. And then that's where we started. And kind of to Stu's point, right? What got next to that, I love to eat, love to drink, love wines and whiskeys. What really inspired me was the whole learning cycle idea, right? To be able to go through the maturation process significantly faster, by orders of magnitude, right? Being able to actually really learn, right? Because we will probably agree, if you, let's stay with wines, right? If you would start today from not knowing anything in wine, it would take more than one generation probably before you could really make a good wine, right? So it's a very experience-driven in industry. Same is true for whiskey making. And here the idea of being able to learn so fast, right? We could get all this data, and we might get into this a little bit more, right? Where we measure things, right? Whether that's from a tasting, whether that's from a chemical fingerprint, right? That helps us to learn so fast and then change things, try things, and understand what is actually really going on in the maturation process.
So from this first day in your garage until the first bottling, how long did that take?
I'm not even sure legally whether I was allowed to bottle anything, right? But we started probably a year and a half later. We started selling our first at the first retailer.
Oh wow!
I mean, every 3 quick. Days we're able to produce a new bottling, right? So the reality is we had 6 or 9 months of producing really bad stuff, before we started to hone in on what was the right combinations of things that started to really, make things that we and our tasters loved. And then after that was kind of the inflection point where we're like, we've got something here. Once we started winning all the blind tastings with the friends and family, we knew we were onto something.
Okay. So how many different spirits do you do? I know you have whiskey and rye, but what else do you produce?
Well, I think the first thing to realize is there's actually two parts to our business. So at the core of this business is this technology platform we've developed that lets us do this. We call it craft maturation. And we use that platform as a behind the scenes technology platform for providing services to other people in the industry. So a lot of our work is actually Intel inside kind of work where we're helping other people in the industry either make their spirits better, faster, cheaper, or to tailor them to specific profiles for the sensory vision that they have in mind.
Wow.
And then the other part of our business is the Bespoken branded products, of which you're tasting some today. And within the Bespoken portfolio, we currently have 7 SKUs.
Okay.
6 of them are whiskeys, and then we have a dark rum.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay.
But we've also done work for our other customers with brandies, with gin, with agave-based spirit, etc.
That's very cool. So without giving away your top secret information, what is it that you do that makes the maturation 3 days? I mean, how do you do that?
Stu, do you want to answer? Because then I don't go too much into detail.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest and highest level way to think about it is that we've deconstructed the barrel.
Okay.
So rather than the old method, which is to take a spirit and put it in a barrel and then just wait, we take the barrel, we deconstruct it, we take the elements of the barrel that are most impactful for what the result that we want and put it together with the spirit.
Wow.
In our machine, which we call the activator, where the ACT in activator stands for aroma, color, and taste. And by carefully selecting and hand blending the wood mixture that we use and put with the spirit into the machine, and then controlling in the machine the environment for things like temperature and pressure, atmosphere, things like that, we create recipes to get specific results.
Wow.
And between the source spirit, the wood mixtures that we can use, the way that we can toast and char that wood, and then the environmental settings, we have over 20 billion combinations that we can use in creating recipes to create these very different results.
Wow. So how many of these machines do you have, and how big are they if they're going to be making all this
Let's
juice?
just say we've got enough and they're big enough. And the beauty of them is if you think about each machine as like a computer in a data center, if you want more capacity, you just add incremental machines.
Wow.
And it's very easy for us to do that with just a small amount of lead time to add capacity as we grow our business. It's a lot more exciting on the inside than it is on the outside, I can assure you.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So what was the first spirit that you ran through there once you honed it in and you said, okay, this is it? What's the first spirit you worked on?
So very early on, it was a bourbon mash bill.
Okay.
Right? Like I said, I started out of my garage, and there are not too many white dogs that you can buy, right? And in retail. So I started with the mash bill that I was able to buy. And to Stu's point, right, we kind of did blind tastings using that mash bill, and then also using the traditionally aged spirit, and then doing blind tastings with the spirit that we made, because we don't use a barrel in that specific case, right? Or we don't mature in a new charred new oak barrel. We only put it in a barrel for a very short time, right? It was a spirit that we called bourbon mash, right? And actually, our original batch, which you don't have, but it's a black label one. That one is sort of one of our, more or less one of the first recipe that we started selling. It was probably recipe number maybe like 2000 or so that we tried. We wanted to make a bourbon, we wanted to make an American style whiskey, right? Part of it was because we're in the US, because we're in California, but also we wanted to make a bold statement, right? By using a bold whiskey. And it's bottled at 50% ABV. It's very similar to the one that you're going to taste today, and we can talk a little bit probably about the differences.
Great.
Then,
so where is your shall I call it distillery? What do you call your workplace?
Yeah, so my garage is not active anymore. So we
call the police. He's still doing brew out of the garage.
And we have two locations. So we have actually what we call our R&D lab, which is in Menlo Park. That's where we do all the recipe development. And then we have a production site on Treasure Island.
Oh,
I
nice.
don't know if you're familiar. It's a little island between San Francisco and Oakland,
Yeah.
where the Bay Bridge is on. A lot of people have driven over Treasure Island by using the Bay Bridge. Not a lot of people stopped there, but it's been
How did you
currently
get that location?
regentrified, and it's actually it's starting to be really, really beautiful there. The views have always been wonderful.
Yes. As I was telling Stu before you got on, I am from San Jose and went to school at SFSU, so I'm very familiar with the area. And I've gone over the bridge many a time to see that beautiful island. How did you manage to choose that location, and how did you even get that location to do that?
Yeah, so again, out of necessity, right? We wanted to, looking around what spaces were available, and one thing that is on Treasure Island, there are already a couple of distilleries, so we kind of co-located with a couple of our colleagues there, and so it already has some history. People not too far away, the people who make vodka, and then also first craft distillery in the US is also not too far away. So it's a very nice neighborhood where also people can help each other out.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I think it's time to taste something. So should I go with the bourbon first or the rye?
Yeah. Oh, I think the bourbon. Sorry, yeah, bourbon.
Right, let's go with the bourbon.
The best sound.
Right,
Yes.
isn't it?
I already poured earlier because I always like to kind of pour it a little bit, and kind of have it sit a little bit, to have its aromas developed.
Well, it smells like bourbon. Definitely smells like bourbon.
What are your first aromas that you're getting, Carrie?
Well, I'm getting the corn for sure, and I'm getting a little wood.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we taste. Wow. That is a good bourbon.
Thank you.
That is
So
fantastic.
it's maybe a little bit history here. So the mash bill is a high rye, 21% rye, right?
That's why I like it.
75% corn, and then 5% malt.
Got some great legs on this too.
Thank you. You're clearly a wine person when you talk about legs.
I was a wine person first, but the sulfites and tannins didn't agree with me, so I moved on to whiskey. Yeah, that's delicious. So how long? So this is like a 3-day process. What I'm drinking.
Yeah. So in this case, right, due to all the laws that are around whiskeys, and to be more specific, I guess in the US, right, you probably know that for something to be called a bourbon whiskey, it has to be filled. I think it's literally filled or stored. I'm trying to recall what the words are. TDP. It has to be filled into. Has to be stored. I think into a new charred oak barrel. Doesn't even have to be American oak, which is kind of an interesting point. But so in this case, what we had to do, we do new fills. Right, we order new fills. In this case, we worked on a spirit that we got from MGP from Indiana. You're probably familiar with them. It's a place with a lot of history, and so it was probably somewhere around 3 months old before we applied our maturation process, so that we are in line with the regulations. At that point, the spirit is still more or less white. Right, very young, and then we applied the process for 3 days, selecting the wood, toasting, charring the wood according to the recipe, and then after 3 days we can bottle the spirit.
That's so crazy! I just can't believe it. 3 days. This is, first of all, it's a very good bourbon, like very good, and it tastes.
I like it.
I was expecting it to taste kind of new-makey, like just off the thing, and it's gone through, and okay, now it's got some color, but it still tasted young. This doesn't taste young. This tastes like a fully aged, several years even maybe an 8 or a 10 year. It's astonishing to me. This is crazy.
Thank you. No, I think it's to your point, right? It tastes and smells and looks like a bourbon, and it is a bourbon. That's the big point, right? You get all the complexity, right? I think you get even on the finish, right? If you kind of look at it, it still warms you up nicely, right?
Yeah.
So we bottled this at 47 ABV. You write on purpose, so it goes beautifully in old fashioned. You can have it neat, you can have it on a rock, and you can enjoy it a little bit longer because of the higher ABV.
It's very creamy, and I do taste a lot of the rye, and that's probably why I like it. If you follow the show, you know I'm more of a rye than a bourbon when it comes to American whiskey. So whenever I get a high rye bourbon, I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to see what you think about the next one.
All right, let's try.
It's also, I think it's worth highlighting that, the quality was very important to us, right? We weren't doing this just because we could. We weren't doing this to try to produce, poor quality knockoffs. We used this process because we really believed that by controlling maturation, we would get some amazing quality products, and being able to, not just match existing products that are great that are out there, but unlock a whole new set of, flavors and profiles. And the real testament to that has been how well the products have performed in competition, in blind competition in particular. Because it's amazing how when you tell somebody what we do and then they taste it, there's always that, oh, well, maybe I taste a little bit of something that's not normal, right? But
World Whiskey Award and the rye.
But when you taste it, blind, that's where it really tells. And our products, our 7 SKUs, have taken home 85 medals.
Wow!
In just our first 2 years.
And that includes insane.
Several double golds, several category winners like the ones you just highlighted for the rye there. And we're really proud of that, because that speaks to the fact that no matter what you think of our story, that the quality of the end product really speaks for itself.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try the rye now. Also has really good legs. It's a nice dark color. Let's try the smell.
It's like a garnet dark color. Yeah. And just to point, right? So this spirit, this rye, has already won twice Best in Category at the World Whiskey Awards, right, in the UK, but also there was last year springtime and just recently at the World Spirits competition in New York. It is a super high rye, so it's 95% rye, 5% malt.
That is delicious. So when I make my Manhattans, I always go with a Rye Manhattan, and I usually make it as a perfect Manhattan, and then I substitute orange for cherry. But this one, I think I would leave the orange. But I'm going to try this in a Manhattan later.
I think it's worth trying both, yeah. I've also heard from a lot of people who actually use this, who make an old fashioned with it, and they believe it just comes so beautifully through.
Yeah,
the spices and the complexity. And this is one of the spirits I could nose all day long, and because there's just so much going on.
It is. It's got a light. It's got this light kind of almost floral scent, but then when you taste it, it's totally not that at all. And I just that's just awesome. So later in the show, we have Chef Louise Leonard on, who will pair and cook, and she chose this expression because she and I both are more rye fans than bourbon. So stick around for that and enjoy what you learn from her ideas there.
Love it.
Now I see. I let her taste it first because I like to. I try to hold off tasting anything until I'm on air with you guys, so I can get the real pop. But she tasted it first so that she could make the recipes, and I was kind of hoping this morning. I was like, I just want to try it right now. She's like, I was amazed with it. It's great. And I didn't even tell her about the backstory about that. It's the way you guys make it. I just let her go with what it tastes like. So
yeah, I'm always amazed how whenever I taste our spirits, just talking about the rye right now I'm getting a lot of this milk chocolate, right, on the finish actually, right next to the vanilla. And I'm always amazed how our sensory system is just so varies also depending on the time of the day, etc., and what you can really taste. And then like that everybody a lot of everybody gets something different when they taste spirits, when they smell spirits, and because sometimes it's layered and it's really really hard to figure out what certain things are. So that's why.
It's true, very true. So, Stu, I'm going to ask you first. What is your favorite expression that you make? And it can be the whiskey, the rye, or the rum. That's either one, any of them.
So, of our portfolio, my favorite one is our American light whiskey.
Okay. And what makes it a light whiskey? Is it a rye? Is it a bourbon?
It's actually a corn mash. I mean, it's a bourbon. But as you probably know, light whiskey doesn't mean it's low calorie.
Right.
It means that it was distilled at a higher proof, and therefore it winds up being lighter in color and lighter in harshness. And that's one of the things I like about it. It really packs a nice punch. It's 100 proof, but you wouldn't know. It's very smooth to drink. And for my less refined than Martin's palate, it's got just a real nice combination of sweet notes to it that I really enjoy. It's got honey and marzipan. I get a lot of when I drink this one, and it goes so well in cocktails.
Oh, good.
A nice Godfather Sour is my favorite. A splash of amaretto with our American light whiskey, and then a little bit of sour.
Nice.
And I could drink those all night, and just be very content.
Okay. And Martin, what about you? Which is your favorite spirit that you make?
I'm gonna say I have two. Sorry, and
that's okay.
So it's the rye. And that we already talked about it just because of its complexity, and then sort of the not sure complete opposite from color at least. It's our special batch, which we also internally call our Japanese inspired spirit. As you can see from a color, much lighter, right? And it has just those beautiful floral fruity notes. Right? It's very smooth. It's just It just drinks like it. The reason we call it Japanese inspired because it reminded me a lot of one of my other favorite brands that is out there, and I literally thought I'm drinking somebody else's whiskey, and it goes beautiful by itself. I've seen people literally filling a whole Chardonnay glass with it. It's a little bit lower proof. It's 45%, but again, you can't tell that it's even that high. Wow. And then goes beautiful in a highball, right? With some, my wife created this beautiful ginger syrup, right? And just with that in a highball, it's just mind blowing. Wow. Delicious.
I had a few people over for the Oscars recently, and that was what I was making was some whiskey highballs with some good syrups and stuff. So yeah, I'm down with that. I'm gonna have to try that when I see that. Now, where can I find these bottles other than calling up your PR lady and saying, "Hey, I need you to send me some so I can taste them"? Where are they sold in the U.S. and are you outside of the U.S. yet?
Yeah, so to make it really the easiest is really go to our website, right, www.bespokenspirits.com, and we have a store locator, and there you can search for restaurants, for bars, or for stores if you want to support your local retailer, or you can also order through the website, with a 3-tier system, and it will be delivered to almost all the states in the US. You have to put in your specific address to make sure that due to different laws from state to state. But so the easiest is really to go online. We are in California in 250, I think, Stu, right? Roughly retails on premise, off premise, but the store locator.
Great. And are you out of the country yet or no?
We actually have shipped product. Our first out of country was South Korea. Where people were just super excited about the quality and the combination of quality and technology and spirits.
What is the 5-year plan for not only Bespoken Spirits, but also for your technology that you're using to make Bespoken Spirits?
The beauty is, as we've said, earlier in this chat, is that with our fast learning cycles, we're just always learning. We've made, probably at this point, we've made tens of thousands of different spirits. And we've learned from them, and we gather all the data, and we do chemical fingerprinting, and that allows us to really kind of get better always at mastering this maturation process. So we're going to continue to offer new products and new flavors and new types of spirits to the market. We're going to continue to build the Bespoken brand and continue to lend our services to the rest of the industry. to help everybody in the industry that wants to do it, to get better product that's also happens to be more sustainable at the same time.
Right. Very cool. And then tell me how you came up with the name and the design for the bottles.
Stu, you want to talk about the name? Was your idea?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, the name really comes from the fact that what we're doing by taking control of the maturation process and doing craft maturation is letting people tailor their spirits to the exact profile that they wanted. So we thought of the bespoke suit, that evolved us to thinking about bespoken. We like bespoken because not only does it have that tie into the customization and the tailoring, but also we feel that the products we make are so good that we want it to be spoken about wide and far.
Very cool. And what other expressions are you going to put out besides whiskey and rums? Are you able with this technology to do any white spirits, or can you only do aged spirits?
Yeah, we really focus on the maturation process, Kevin. Right, so that's why we also don't distill ourselves. We always work together with a distillery, whether it's local or from somewhere else, to kind of give us the base spirits. So all our spirits that you will always find will have some color that comes from the wood. But it's interesting to think about the opportunity to actually do it with spirits that maybe traditionally are not really barrel aged for all kinds of reasons. Right, or it has been done, like in case of gin, right? Gin used to be transported in barrel just like whiskey, and it turned to be brown liquid too, right? People don't do it today anymore, probably because they didn't want to wait, right? and so we have the beautiful opportunity to apply it to all kinds of different spirits where barrel aging has also not been applied to.
Well, guys, can you tell us, our audience, where you can find you guys? You're online? Let's get your website, your socials, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, like Martin said, website is www.bespokenspirits.com. Instagram is @BespokenSpirits. Those are the two best and easiest way to engage, and we're always eager to hear feedback from our customers.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing your spirits with me today. I'm still in awe at how good they are for 3 days. I mean, I've had some other people attempt what you're doing, and they weren't very good. But this was a very nice surprise. So everybody out there, if you don't believe that this actually works, I'm here to tell you this stuff was fabulous, and I love it, and you should go try it because it's amazing. So thanks, guys, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
World of Wheezy is up next. Stay with us.
If you like what you've seen on BRC, you'll love what's coming soon in the Barrel Room Parlor. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to various spin-off series, including The Cutting Room Floor and the Telly Award-winning series Kindred Spirits. To create your membership, visit www.barrelroomchronicles.com and click on Become a Member. Once you have chosen your membership level, you'll be able to enjoy all the extra content it has to offer. You'll even be able to participate with the show by commenting on videos and other posts. Don't wait. Sign up today for exclusive content in the Barrel Room Parlor.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and hello, Louise. And thank you for joining us today on the show. Today I gave you 2 expressions to try from Bespoken. One was a rye, one was a bourbon. And I'm going to guess, being that you and I are both rye fans, that you chose the rye, but maybe you'll surprise me and chose the other one.
I chose the rye, so you'll have to deal with it.
Nice.
And you want to know what? I chose the rye specifically because I wanted to pair it with a chocolate chip cookie.
What?
And not just any chocolate chip cookie, but a chocolate chip cookie made with rye flour and toasted caraway seeds in the chocolate chip cookie.
Wow.
Also topped with sea salt.
Ooh.
Let me tell you something. This was a redonkulous combination. Delicious. So I started making these chocolate chip cookies a while ago, and I was just playing around, and I love the taste of rye bread. I love the taste of caraway. I think that it is a spice that is underused. If you are not from a part of the world where caraway is used all the time, I think people don't know what it is. You have no idea how many times I serve somebody like braised cabbage that happens to have toasted caraway seeds in it. And people are like, what's in here? And I'm like, it's caraway. And they're like, oh, it was familiar, but I didn't know what it was. So I do these chocolate chip cookies with rye flour and toasted caraway seeds and sea salt, obviously then sugar and chocolate chips and all the other usual suspects in a chocolate chip cookie. People freak out. They're like, this is the craziest cookie I've ever had. And guess what? It pairs wonderfully with this whiskey. So
I bet. Well, you're gonna have to make me a dozen of those and send them over. So when I taste the rye, that I can maybe even dunk it. What do you think about that? No, not it doesn't do the same as milk.
I am not here to yuck anyone's yum. So you do you.
Cool. Well, those cookies sound delicious. Can't wait to try them. And I will see you next time with our next spirit. And thank you so much for being here.
Sounds good. I'll see you later.
For show notes on today's episode, please visit www.barrelroomchronicles.com. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to the podcast. If you really liked it and want to show your support, buy us a whiskey through our Ko-fi site. If you work in the whiskey industry or run a whiskey bar or club, and you'd like to be featured on Barrel Room Chronicles, register to be a guest through our website. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, Solanjava.
Barrel Room Chronicles is a production of First Reel Entertainment and is distributed by Anchor FM and is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.